what it means is that our brain is moving at different speeds. And when our brain is moving really fast, when we're inside of shock, when we're inside of trauma, our brain moves with an urgency. And there's something really important about slowing down just to be with what is emerging and to build relationship with what we're discovering around what's emerging.
Going Inside is a podcast on a mission to help people heal from trauma and reconnect with their authentic self. Join me, trauma therapist John Clark, for guest interviews, real-life therapy sessions, and soothing guided meditations. Whether you're navigating your own trauma, helping others heal from trauma, or simply yearning for a deeper understanding of yourself, Going Inside is your companion on the path to healing and self-discovery. Download free guided meditations and apply to work with me one-on-one at johnclarktherapy.com. Thanks for being here. Let's dive in. Rebecca Wong is a relational therapist, educator, and the creator of Connectfulness, a practice rooted in presence, curiosity, and the courage to turn toward what's hard. She supports individuals, couples, and healing professionals in cultivating nervous system trust, relational integrity, and generational repair. Learn more at connectfulness.com. Rebecca, thank you for being here. It's been only years since I've seen you or connected with you in a very different realm and different time in life and work and all that. So
Yeah.
catch me up on what life is like these days and what you're up to as it relates to your work and everything.
Oh, that's a big question. It's good to see you.
You
It has
too.
been a really long time. What is going on over here? Um, I'm raising two teens. Two in high school, just started back today. And let's see what else. I'm doing a lot of relationship intensives and deepening my work and like relational trauma healing. Um, that's really been my focus in terms of working with couples, um, offering workshops in my community, offering containers for grief. Um, I think people are hurt in relationship and we heal in relationship, and that happens all the time. And it's an emergent process to heal and to grow our connection with
Yeah.
ourselves and with each other. And um, yeah, I'm really into learning from my people about how we work with our systems, both systems in the world and systems within ourselves.
You've always had a really strong through line with your work. I'm kind of
Mm.
envious. You're also, like, really good at branding and putting, like, concisely describing what you do, which is a skill that, I developed over the years, but, yeah, everything really rooted in connection and relationship and healing and deepening, like, everything I see you do is around that deepening, and, um, there's something counterintuitive about how a lot of times our wounding comes from relationships, and so naturally, there's parts of us that don't wanna go back there,
Mm.
and yet a lot of the healing happens, you know, we call it a corrective emotional experience, through trying again, whether it's with that person or someone else or whomever it is, like, that healing also happens, like, often where the hurt happened.
Yeah. I was talking to a mentor of mine recently, who was saying that grief is perhaps one of the most integrative experiences like that our brain can be in. And then I came across this quote by Terry Tempest Williams that said, "Grief dares us to love once more." And I think that's the thing of it, right? Like when we're really being with the truth and the weight, right? Because the etymology of the word grief kind of really has a lot to do with the gravitas, the gravity, the weight of things. When we're really with the weight of hurt, of harm, of the ouches, of the what needs weren't met, or gosh, grief can show up in so many different ways, right? But when we're really with the grief, it does challenge us, it does ask us, it does dare us to love.
Mhm. And, um, so much inside of us that is inclined toward running from that pain, moving away from it, not dealing with it.
Or
4 years
fighting
or
or shutting
decades,
down.
fighting or shutting down, or that there
Yeah.
must be an easier way, right? And yet so much of the work is turning toward, and that was a piece you kinda put in your, the prompts for this interview around turning toward. And I think, like, regardless of the modality that a therapist is using, that's a lot of what we do, is gently inviting clients to turn toward what they've been running from for often so long, or their entire
Mhm.
lives, or whatever it might be. um,
Yeah.
and that can feel weird because it's like you're kind of asking me to hurt more.
Yeah, well, can I slow us down for a minute and, like, how do I turning toward the wisdom of the system, right? Like, I don't wanna turn directly toward the hard thing,
Mm,
but I wanna turn toward, um maybe my language is a little different. I think of it like we have all these wisdom keepers inside, and they know where the hurt is, and they know what caused the hurt. They also know the pathway towards healing that hurt. And so if we're turning towards the wisdom keepers, they might also know now's the time to open this up or now's not,
mm,
right? But building relationship and collaboration with them, that's what I want to encourage folks to turn towards the wisdom in their own system.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, say more about that, and, I guess kind of how you came to understand the that system and how to work with it.
Mhm. Um, oh gosh, my understanding is layered, right? It's like the generational understanding that we learn as little people growing up in our family systems and what we witness around us, and um, it's the my own healing journey, and it's sitting with so many people, and my own educational journey, right? Like all of the seeking that I've been doing for decades has been around this. Like, I keep coming back to this, um, which is to say that, oh, we all have such wisdom. Like, there is wisdom in what we turn away from. There's wisdom in where we shut down. There's wisdom in what we fight. There's wisdom in all of it. There's nothing wrong with any of us. And relationships are really hard. Are you familiar with the work of Jaak Panksepp?
No.
So he talks about a seeking system. And the seeking system, it kind of is layered in the brainstem around the same place that our safety system might be layered, like the fight, flight, freeze kind of stuff originates from, is oriented towards brainstem, kind of looks for, Am I okay? Am I okay? Am I okay?"
Yeah.
And the seeking system is constantly scanning for and looking for care. Right? And as adults, that might look different. It might also have to do with, like, can I care for the people in my life? Can I be generative in different ways? But when we're seeking care, when we're met with care, that's beautiful. Like, things can happen, and exploration happens, and play happens, and adult love relationships, lust may happen. But when we're seeking care and we're not met with care, then we might enter a phase of, like, panic grief, or fear, anxiety, rage, eventually despair. All of that are part of what happens in biologically to us when we're seeking care and it's not there.
Mm,
Um, so, like, that's interesting because then if we're thinking about it in that kind of way, then even rage is a bid for connection, right? Despair is a bid for something. Like, it's like, oh, I'm seeking care, I'm seeking connection, I'm seeking being seen, I'm seeking belonging.
yeah. Well, not to oversimplify it, but I think of almost everything as some sort of bid for connection. And,
Yeah.
when my clients are talking about things, like I was just in a session this morning, and my client said, well, I was, in the car talking to my partner, and I got really angry about this thing. Um, and I just saw that as a bid for connection, which is like, how loud do I need to get for you to
Yeah.
take me seriously or to
Yeah.
connect with me? And what I'm also really saying is, like, I'm actually really afraid, but it feels scary to say I'm afraid right now. So I show you my anger, right? which the anger is kind of just like, you're not meeting me right now, right? You're not seeing me. Um, and also, like, I don't really know how to get you to see me. So there's just so
Uh,
much that's happening, underneath a single interaction, in this case with my client and their partner, but, in so many of our relationships.
yeah, I think there's so much like, the way that you're naming it is so great, and I think that kind of layered thing is happening in most of our interactions most of the time, right? Like 80, 90% of the time, we're looking at the world through history-colored lenses.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like everything is a projection and transference. It's like, what is this person or this thing bringing up in me that is difficult to turn toward or is raw and painful or whatever it is, right? And like this difficulty in really just truly seeing each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's that, um, and I also kind of simplified in my mind a little bit. Like, it's the projection, it's the transference, but it's also just like, this is how my brain shortcuts understanding the world,
Yeah.
right? I I know how to sit in a chair because sometime in my toddlerhood, I explored and understood and learned what a chair was, and if I had to calorically figure that out every time I confronted a chair, I would waste a lot of energy. And so we walk through life in that kind of way where we're using these consolidated moments of memory to kind of get us through something and make a prediction about what next.
Yeah.
And we do that in relationship all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so much of, in my experience, how we got here as therapists for many of us is like, how did I make myself useful in relationships?
Mhm.
And that was by
A lot of us are
foregoing my
fixers.
needs and
Yeah.
fixing or
Mhm.
serving or being, you know, mom's therapist or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And there was so much value in that, and that was a way of getting or maintaining or not losing connection, right?
That's right.
But it also comes from our woundedness, and
Mhm.
that can only take you so far.
It's both end.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's gifts in there and there's also pain.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. As therapists, we hold space for so many, but who's holding space for us? If you're craving deeper healing and more powerful tools for your clients, I want to invite you to my free webinar on internal family systems therapy. IFS changed my life and the way I practice. It helped me move through burnout, reconnect with my authentic self, and show up more fully for my clients and for myself. In this webinar, I'm going to walk you through what IFS is and why it works, a simple tool that you can use right away, and how to bring this work into your practice, even if you're just beginning. This is for therapists ready to go deeper. Join us now with the link in the description. Yeah, what else comes to mind around this stuff, or what else did you want to kind of make sure we explore today as it relates to your work?
Oh, I guess it's just like there's as we're naming these kind of like it's this and that. It's pain and it's healing, it's gifts and it's ouches. It's also like our culture teaches us to avoid a lot of discomfort, right? We don't turn towards hard things. Um, oh, you're getting older, take this medicine or buy this car, get this new face mask or buy these clothes or right? Like there's all these things that we are sold to avoid discomfort. And it is so much a part of the air we breathe that it can be hard to slow down and really just be with, oh, I wonder what's going on here, right? Like
Mhm.
the pause and the noticing of what's emerging. Um, what did I read the other day? I read something about somebody talking about their therapist. I don't know this person. I don't know this therapist. But I was reading about it and they said something like, "Oh, I was telling my therapist that I was really dysregulated." And my therapist said, "Maybe those are just feelings. Like maybe you're just having a range of experiences, a range of feelings." And I think that's really right. Like dysregulation, first of all, I don't think dysregulation is a bad thing.
Yeah.
There's no good or bad in that, right? Like dissociation is not a bad thing. Uh, Dysregulation is not a bad thing. Not being in an integrated brain state is not a bad thing. What it means is that our brain is moving at different speeds. And when our brain is moving really fast, when we're inside of shock, when we're inside of trauma, our brain moves with an urgency. And there's something really important about slowing down just to be with what is emerging
Yeah.
and to build relationship with what we're discovering around what's emerging, right? The becoming human, the being with ourselves is an emergent process. And I think that's really revolutionary in a culture that's built upon avoidance
Yeah.
to make an action where we go, wait, hold on, I want to be with myself.
Yeah.
That's a revolutionary act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for many of us, uh, it doesn't feel like enough,
Mhm.
you know, because we are also so obsessed with efficiency and outcomes and solving and, fixing it, right? Or being
Yeah.
useful to the other person, right? So it's like, again, as a therapist, it's like, if all I do, quote unquote, is like help you be with that part of yourself today, did I do enough in session, right? And I
Mhm.
also, I train a lot of therapists who are at the beginning of their careers and see them through their associateship and residency. And there's a lot of that energy around, like, I've gotta do more in session, I've gotta do a lot, or if my client's in a really painful place, I need to do something about it, right? Like, I can't just let them breathe
Well,
through it,
but I want to
yeah,
challenge that a little bit. Is it okay that I do?
sure.
Because it's like our people have been surviving before they came to us.
Yeah,
Their nervous
absolutely.
systems know how to keep them going,
Yeah,
right? And I think it's far more important that we trust their nervous systems than that we fix them or that even that they trust us,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
so it's kind of like, is it our job to fix them? What would that mean? What does that mean for their nervous system? Like, I was with a
yeah,
client earlier today, and they came in kind of with like, "I wanna tell you about this." And as they started telling me about this, um, I something happened and I went, "Oh, what about this? Should we do this?" And my agenda got totally in the way, and there was a relational rupture in that moment. And I noticed it. I noticed it
yeah,
because their body kinda slowed down and they kind of went into a little bit of like a collapse.
yeah.
And then we talked about it and we did some repair work right there in the moment. And it turned out that that rupture mirrored something that they were going to tell me about. And the repair was the thing that they were seeking, right? But
Yep.
if I had stayed on my course of what I thought they needed instead of slowing down, would we have gotten anywhere? Probably not, because they would have just been really collapsed.
A and if you didn't have the ability and the self energy to attend to the process in that moment and that miss, then it would have just been a miss, right?
It would
Or
have
a
just been
bruise.
another miss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another ouch.
One of the a sign where I feel like trust is actually there and some degree of safety is really here is when clients can tell me I missed the mark,
Yes.
right? Or tell me you're not getting it, or tell me that didn't work, or whatever. It's like, thank you so much for
Yeah.
telling me. I'm so glad you're telling me
Yeah.
this right now. And here's this opportunity to potentially work through it. I mean, I, I'm already seeing like this whole piece you just said is like gonna be a good clip for social media or something because um what you did right there is I mean, it's just so you made it sound easy the way you slowed down and tuned in and tended to the process and did that repair right then and there, but it's really hard to do, and this is you're a
Oh,
seasoned
yeah.
therapist, and so, a lot of the clinicians that I train who early on, like, these moments are really intense,
It
and they
can
also often
be.
feel like they need to get it right all the time, and they can't ever miss with their clients, right? So it feels really high stakes.
Yeah, I think that's the place where I've done a lot of training with Julianne Taylor Shore.
Mhm.
She has created a method called the STAIR method, and it's neurobiologically based. STAIR stands for self trust and integrative resilience. And what I love so much about it um, is that it really promotes the therapist being able to be with themselves and
Yeah,
meeting themselves with a lot of witness and a lot of compassion and undoing a lot of aloneness and a lot of little um, practices, deliberate practices that we practice outside of session and we bring back into session. And I believe that that's really been revolutionary in helping me to turn towards the parts of me that go, oh no, what just happened there? Or, when it feels like it could be a high stakes, high risk moment, how do I be with myself well in those moments
Yeah.
so that I'm not getting ahead of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Mhm.
That's so much of the work as therapists. That's the
Mm.
work, that's the training, is turning back toward ourselves. And also, I just wanna add this layer of, for some clients, it's not so easy to do the repair, or they might not welcome it or be ready, or it might actually be high stakes with them that if we miss, we there's higher consequences, right? Or
Yeah.
they shut us out, right? And that can bring up more stuff for us.
We might also not know what the repair is that is actually needed,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? And so they're not letting us in might actually be a way of guiding us
Yeah.
toward.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's a hard job we say yes to.
Yeah, it's a really hard job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is great stuff. So yeah, we've kind of covered a few pieces here, and I guess what a couple of like broad questions, not to zoom out too much again, is like, in your experience and uh, ideas about all this, like, what is trauma and what is healing?
Mhm. Grief for both.
Okay, next question.
No, but let's if I can really go a little deeper here. Um, Francis Weller wrote a really great book called The Wild Edge of Sorrow, and he teaches folks how to, or guides folks to apprentice their own grief. And I think he's really onto something, like, he's naming it really well. It's not like something new that he's discovered, but I think he's articulating it really well.
Yeah.
And he talks about these, like, 5 gates of grief. And I think this is really what the trauma is, right? Everything we love will lose, right? Which we also hear mirrored back in a lot of different, ways of meeting compassion, right? Like, suffering is a part of being human. So everything we love will lose. There are places in us that have probably never known love. Um, the sorrows of the world, and gosh, right now there's a lot of that. Um, things that like our expectations, what we expected but we didn't receive, and ancestral grief, stuff that lives in our bones.
Mhm.
And so when you ask what is trauma, I think trauma is all of that, right? It's the stuff that we love but we're afraid of losing. It's the stuff that the unmet needs and the places in us that haven't known love. It's what we witness collectively in the world around us. It's uh, um, not having received love or receiving something that really didn't feel okay.
Yeah.
And the ancestral knowings that live in our bones. That is what trauma is in many ways. Um, and I wanna add one more layer onto that. When I define trauma, I'm leaning towards Bonnie Badenoch's work, and Bonnie talks about trauma is any experience, of grief or pain that doesn't have the support that it needs to be integrated into the experience of our developing mind through
Yeah.
time, through our life. So it's when we don't have the support to integrate those losses. That's what causes the ouch. That's what gets us stuck. That's what we
Yeah.
hold in our body.
Yeah.
And what is healing? I think healing is meeting that well so that we can undo some aloneness around it and we can be with the reality of what was and what the losses were. And that whether it's within our own nervous system, between us and our parts, or it's in relationship in therapy or with people in our lives, that we can undo some aloneness so that we don't have to, it becomes supported, right? It's not an unsupported process of being with, but it's a process that earns some support, and that earning of support is earning more security in
Mhm.
our lives. So I
Yeah.
I think really being able to be with grief, to be with the truth of what has occurred is is the healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This piece around support and integration, I think, is essential. And on the other side of kind of like traumatic impact or traumatic reactions is like, how do we mitigate crisis or when things are falling apart or
Mm.
when the trauma is happening right now? And for me, it's always been around this piece of like a loss of agency and a loss of yeah, connection and the ability to have what I need to get through a really difficult or impossible situation, right?
Mhm.
Or some people that have been through massive like natural disasters and are less traumatized than others, right? I think about this a lot because and I don't know if I mentioned this years ago when you interviewed me on your podcast, which feels like an eternity. I mean, it might
My
have been
old,
years
like,
ago.
3 podcasts ago, they're all retired now podcasts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But I think it's still out there somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah.
Um, but, I was an EMT for many years, and out of the many thousands of calls I ran, there was really only a couple that actually, like, left a mark, and one of them was where, not enough people showed up to help me deal with the call, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't have what I needed to deal with it.
Yeah.
Um And that loss of agency, that loss of connection, that loss of being able to, like, do something about it was, like, profoundly traumatic versus all the
Sh
other thousands of calls that were objectively, like, just as hard or as intense or
It's the
whatever, as high
aloneness.
stakes as the aloneness, right? And
Yeah.
not having what you need to do the job or get through the moment or whatever. So,
Yeah.
it took me years to understand, like, why that particular call was so impactful more than others that on paper would have seemed way more, um, traumatic, you know?
Totally. Yeah. This is why I've started holding grief gatherings. I'm holding them I'm aiming for every other month or so,
Mm,
just like a community collective call.
yeah,
Um, and they're free. It's just a place for people to gather.
that's
Um,
amazing.
but I have found that we need witness, right? Like that's a piece that we really need. We need
Yeah,
witness,
yeah,
especially around grief, especially around hard moments.
yeah.
Yeah. And something else you said got me thinking a little bit of a Viktor Frankl quote. Um, I'm a bit of a nerd. I keep dropping quotes.
I
Apologize for
love it.
that.
You're ready.
They're just in there. But I'm thinking of how Viktor Frankl talked about between the stimulus and the response, there lies a space, right?
Yeah,
And in that space lies our freedom to choose our response. And I'm thinking about that, especially in the hard moments, but it's also something that if we don't practice deliberately in our lives, it's less available to us in the hard
yeah,
moments.
yeah,
And so it's a muscle that we can build. Um,
yeah,
it's something that we can be really deliberate about.
that's right.
How do we work with that? That's like the essence of my work. I slow down and I work with micro practices around that a lot about how do we slow down? How do we be with ourselves in those moments?
Yeah,
If the, how do we um, discern what's coming towards us so that we can respond in ways that are aligned with how we want to show up in the next moment?
yeah,
Um, because all of us have autopilot parts that will just
yeah,
take over. But if we can practice slowing down and being with,
yeah,
then that is another part of like the inner revolution.
yeah.
Yeah.
Choice is massive and something I think about all the time with
Yeah.
my work, my clients, especially in the realm of trauma. And, um, y y you know, I've been going through the somatic experiencing training the past couple years, Peter
Yeah.
Levine stuff,
Yeah.
which
Are
is
you
great,
liking
and
it?
I love it. I like it even more than I thought I would. It's so slow that it makes me mad, but that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
There isn't, like,
I
one PDF of, like, "Here's the
uh-huh.
model." It's like we titrate the model, like, a
Yeah.
morsel at a time, and then you deal with it and integrate it, and I'm like, "I need all of it." They're like, "That is the model."
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
titration and pendulation and all these pieces, but, you know, Peter Levine talks about the trauma vortex and the healing vortex, and I think
Mhm.
about choice as a big part of the healing vortex. I had a client who went to, like, this wellness retreat, and they started having everyone, like, sit in a circle and share and do, like, some pretty intense breath work, um, without screening or asking anyone about their
Yeah.
histories or anything like that, right? Like really well-intending stuff. It's just, it could be like going to a yoga class and something gets really opened up that you weren't ready for. And the class might not have the support for what gets opened up. But, my client was able to have choice in that moment and go, this isn't a good idea for me. I'm going to sit this one out, right? And
Amazing.
despite like the shame, the embarrassment, everything that came up with like raising your hand and being like, I'm making the choice that like this is not going to be good for me. Like going inside doesn't feel good for me right now, and also their history and all that. So I was like extremely proud of the client in
Yeah.
that moment because a year ago they would have just said, "Oh my gosh, I just need to do it, and I need to do this breathing exercise no matter what happens," right? And it could
That's a
unlock a lot of
sign, I
stuff.
think, of really moving through a healing process is
I
when we
think so
start
too. Yeah,
learning how to negotiate that and learning that,
yeah,
"Oh, I have agency here." That is so huge.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes clients don't realize that as, in my opinion, like a massive indicator of change or progress,
Mhm.
because it's like, oh, I said no to something. Or sometimes it's like I dealt with a difficult moment and I didn't get extremely activated, right? So it's like
Mhm.
sometimes that lack of a trigger is huge progress.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the opposite. It's like,
Sometimes it's
"Oh,
the
instead
opposite.
of shutting down, I got really activated." That
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
might be a sign of progress, right? Like,
Mm,
when we think about how we move the nervous system through things, right? When we are really frozen and collapsed and stuck, we need to move back through activation, which could look like fight or flight,
that's right.
and before we get back into a ventral vagal state, into a
Yeah.
collected state that is able to, connect with others and be more curious and compassionate and collaborative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I like, the SE stuff because it just really honors and you learn to work directly with the nervous system rather than trying to
Mhm.
control it or tamp it down,
Mhm.
which is what a lot of, I think, like, direct, like, regulation skills end up kind of teaching is, like, to your point, like, it's not good to be activated or it's bad to be dysregulated or whatever. Everyone needs to be, like, you know, walking around like a Buddhist monk all day, and it's just like, that's just not realistic.
Yeah,
We need some activation and it
we do.
yeah,
We do. Like, if I'm walking across the street and a truck is coming towards me, I need the activation to help me jump out of the way in time,
yeah,
right? Like, I need that. It's
yeah,
not a good or bad thing. It's a
yeah.
survival thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if
It's
I'm
also
trying
being
to
able to
have
turn from that state.
yeah, because if I come home and I'm trying to have a conversation with my partner and I'm still inside of that state, that
Yeah,
conversation is gonna go really differently than if I come home and I've, like, taken a few breaths or my partner gives me a hug and we talk about what happened, then the conversation that we might need to have is gonna go differently.
yeah.
Yeah.
We used to, my wife and I used to fly a lot with my dog. She was like a therapy dog, and she would be incredibly calm and laid back on flights, and then, when the flight would land, and then, when the plane is, like, braking and it speeds up and it's really loud, that's the only part she would panic with. And so she would kind of panic, during that moment, and then when it was over, like, she would just go back to sleep, right? And I always, like, thought about that and how she could just go right back to, like, being asleep,
Mhm.
and what's different about us that, like, we might have that moment, but then every time we get on a plane we might go home and then think about that moment or fear that moment happening again, right? Or think about how bad that was, right? And I think so much of our suffering is also tied into the memories we have and then the fear we build up around something happening again or something going wrong again, right? And like, do I need to be in some of that state in case it happens again? Versus like,
Yeah.
my dog just went right back to sleeping.
I think that you're naming it really well there, John, and I think there's another layer that I'm catching, which has to do with, like, social terror.
Mhm.
Like, what do other people think of me kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
yeah,
I don't think our dogs think about that as much,
yeah,
right? But as humans, we spend a lot of time in those places of
yeah,
what did other people think? And I
yeah,
think that has a lot to do with this reach for care and for belonging. We all wanna be part of. We wanna be accepted. We wanna be loved.
yeah,
And I think there's a real difference between belonging and fitting in.
yeah.
And, if we're truly belonging somewhere, we're belonging with the fullness of how we show up in the moment.
Mm.
So my anxiety doesn't mean I don't belong.
Yeah, but and for so many of us, that's where that takes us, right? It is like
Mhm.
I'm anxious and people are noticing and I'm less lovable, right? I'm
Yeah.
less worthy of connection, right?
Yeah.
You know?
That's the
Like,
feeling inside.
that's the feeling. Yeah, that's where it takes us. So I
Yeah.
have to do all this work to, like, conceal my vulnerability.
Oh, but see, there we are again. We're back in a place of avoiding discomfort,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
so that's the thing that I keep trying to turn us towards is this,
yeah.
oh yeah, let's be with that, right? Like let's be with that impulse
Mhm.
even to conceal that discomfort.
Yeah,
Um and what happens in the moments where that discomfort is revealed, where others can witness it. What I often find, whether I'm running groups or workshops or just working with a couple or even working with someone individually and then they go home and they come back, is that in the moments where stuff is revealed and held, those are the healing moments,
yeah,
right? Like, oh, I saw your anxiety. I'm so glad you named it because I have stuff like that that lives in me too. It made me feel more belonging to see it in you, right? We don't have to be perfect. That's a lot to stand up to.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, yeah, our need to avoid.
That again, like, you're making it look easy, but
It's
that
not.
piece you just named
It's
of, like,
practiced.
resonance, like,
Yeah.
accurate resonance and, like, seeing it in them, and even just, like, naming it of, like, "There's some of that in me too,
Yeah.
and we can kinda be together in that." First of all, it takes therapists off of this pedestal that we are naturally can be on, and clients put us on of being the expert or knowing a lot or being more wise or whatever it is, right? Um, and yet, the more we can come down from that and just meet them in their humanness, like, the better. And yet, it's like, when we come out of grad school, there's so much theory and technique and stuff that's, like, layered on top of how I should be and how I should sit, right? Or, like, concealing lots of my humanity or, like, just being helpful or, like, I don't know, doing cognitive restructuring, whatever I'm, like, trying to do that kind of takes me further from my humanity, which
Mhm.
ironically is also, like, that's why the client chose you is, like, because of your humanity and your personhood
Right. And
versus,
if
like,
if
the
if
fact
we're
you know the
taking
expertise.
people away from if we're taking ourselves away from humanity, if we're taking our people away from we're perpetuating the aloneness, right?
Yeah,
We're dehumanizing ourselves, each other. We're not meeting each other in a place of,
yeah,
gosh, being human is hard. Of
yeah,
course it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It seems like, in my experience, like, a lot of the my, m my therapist is, either 84 or 85, and I remember
Mhm.
one day I was in session with him, and, I was just going through it. I was just in an absolute valley and just, coming there with just grief and so much heaviness and just feeling so lost, and I finished, probably a really long monologue, yeah, about it all, and I'm just, like, kind of sobbing, and I just look up, and he's just, like, incredibly with me, and it's
Yeah.
clearly impacting him. He's clearly, like, in that resonance, and he just said something like, "My heart goes out to you," or something like that. Um, and I'll never forget that moment, how impactful that was because
Dude.
it was just that being with part that, again, is so hard it's so simple, but not easy for many of us, just like, would it be enough if I were just with him in
Mm.
this moment, right, where everything feels like the bottom is falling out, right, and it'd be so tempting to, like, go into solution mode or try to fix or communicate, like, it's kinda like, how do I help you feel better?
I
Which
think
in a
we
way
all
inadvertently
feel better by
communicates that,
being
like,
with them like your
yeah,
therapist did.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that
Right?
inadvertently communicates it's not okay to feel bad or feel this much grief or feel this
Yeah.
much despair. Like,
There's
we
nothing
gotta
wrong with you.
get you out of this
Yeah.
state. Yeah.
I'm thinking of, Peter Levine. I can't remember which of his books it was that he wrote, about the car accident that he had been in, and that the most healing words he heard from someone who attended to him at the accident is, "I am with you,"
Mhm.
right? "I'm
Yeah,
here with you." Like, that is our work.
yeah,
Our work, whether we're partners, whether we're parents, whether we're friends, whether we're community members, whether we're therapists or teachers or whoever it is, our work is, "I am here with you. We're journeying together.
yeah,
We're moving through the suffering of being human with each other."
yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge. Um, I'll just throw this little story in there, but, years ago during my EMT work, I was attending to, like, one of the worst car crashes I had ever worked, and,
Mm.
there was a woman who was stuck in the car, and they had been waiting probably 20 minutes because we were out kind of in a rural area in Virginia, and,
Mhm.
this woman absolutely would have gone into shock if it weren't for this bystander who got in the car with her and just held her hand. They also didn't even speak the same language, but he was, like, incredibly with her. And when I got there, it was like, this guy is literally the only reason why she's not going into shock or dying.
Mm.
And it turned out that the best thing we could do was also to bring him with us in the ambulance.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I remember getting her out of that car and her saying, like, "He can't leave me, he can't leave me," she doesn't even know who this guy is, right? And just like, "Okay,
Mm.
put him in the car." Um,
Yeah.
but looking back on it, just, like, that connection was so powerful, like, dealing with a life or death
Yeah.
situation, so,
My guess is what you witnessed there was 2 nervous systems in real resonance with each other.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was powerful and, like, literally probably saved her life.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
his too.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
These examples are everywhere, right? When you're
Everywhere.
looking
Yeah.
for them, and again, these bids for connection are everywhere, yeah,
It
yeah,
really is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'm also realizing, like, just to bookmark this, Rebecca, I'm gonna have to bring you back for another episode because I wanna talk to you about parenting because I feel
Okay.
like you
Oh
probably have a
gosh.
lot of thoughts on it, and, you're parenting a couple of teens, I'm parenting a 5-year-old and a 6-week-old, um,
Mm.
and so through so much of my work as a therapist and working mostly with adults, I'm thinking about and tending to their inner children,
Yeah.
and the wounding and the messaging around, like, "Wipe those tears away, it's okay," "Don't worry, don't be ridiculous," whatever it is, like,
Yeah.
little boys dealing with anger, whatever it is, so I just have so much, curiosity around your thoughts on that, but
Sure.
maybe for
And I
next
I
time.
don't work with like, I have my own children, but I don't
Yeah,
work with kids in my office, but I'm happy to join you for a
yeah,
conversation. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
just these bits for connection, right, or, like,
It's all the time.
it's all the time, like,
Yeah.
for the question I ask myself when, like, my 5-year-old is dealing with big feelings is, like, if it's feeling like too much for me, it's like, why is her feeling a problem for me, right? Why is
Mm.
her anger a problem for me or her fear, right? Or she's afraid, like, no one's gonna sit with me at lunch, right? And there's a part of me that wants to fix or reassure her, but it's like, I don't know how lunch will go, and it's
Yeah.
scary to not know if anyone's gonna sit with me. But so much of my conditioning is around, like, kinda, like, swiftly get your kid through that feeling, right?
Yeah.
Because it's uncomfortable for us or unacceptable to us.
I was talking to a friend of mine, about parenting the other day, and, this is a therapist friend, and we're nerds together
Mhm.
about stuff like this. And what we were talking about was how important our ability to respond is, how important
Yeah,
that presence is, right? Because it's not about getting them through it, but it's about, "Oh, I can stay with you as you negotiate this, as you
exactly.
build relationship with yourself and build trust in yourself that you can manage if nobody sits with you." Like, "Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be really hard. Oh, what might you feel?" Right?
Mhm.
Like that kind of just, "I can be with you as we think about it ahead of time."
Yeah.
I think that's the work of parenting. It's, am I able to respond? Am I able to attune to? It's not, can I fix or can I teach you all the time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I imagine for parenting teenagers, a lot of it is, like,
It's the same.
helping them evaluate yeah, and it's the same,
It's the
and
same.
helping them evaluate, like, the decisions they're making or,
Mhm.
just, like, what is the role of parent at that stage, so
Yeah, well, I
that's the
think on
coming down to
some
it.
level, the first challenge as they get older and older is to stay attuned and connected, right? And, that's not always easy, right? As
Right.
peers come in, they're they tend to try to sway towards their peers, and part of our work of parents is to stay connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tying
Which
it all
doesn't,
back
yeah.
to your brand. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it really is, like, the central thread to everything,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Rebecca, yeah, anything left for today that kind of feels unsaid or if not, let us know a little bit more about, like, how you're working with people right now and how people
Mhm.
can learn more about your work and get in touch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that that covers a lot of what I thought we were gonna be talking about today, John. Um, I have a few offerings these days. Like I mentioned the grief gatherings. I'm calling them the geography of grief.
Hmm.
Um, but I have those gatherings. I think the next one is mid-October. Um,
Great.
and then for people who are in the Hudson Valley, in New York's Hudson Valley, I have a workshop series coming up called Relationally Rooted. The first workshop is in at the end of September, and it's about turning towards. The next one is about boundaries and edges, and the third workshop is about uh, ruptures and repairs. And those are each like, I don't know, like 3.5, 4 hour workshops. They include a meal. Folks can come to one or all. Um, I run consultation groups for therapists that are kicking off next week, and I run my intensives. So those are like 20-hour packages for individuals or couples or other other formations of adults,
Hmm.
thruples and other kinds of groups that just kind of want to do some really deep work. Um,
Hmm.
so those are my offerings, and everything that I do can be found at connectfulness.com.
Great. Easy
Yeah,
enough.
yeah,
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for being here and for your work and your message. And yeah, it's good to see you after probably a decade.
yeah. It's been a long time. It's really good to see you again, John. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks again.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Going Inside. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching, and share your favorite episode with a friend. You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at John Clark Therapy, and apply to work with me one-on-one at johnclarktherapy.com. See you next time.